All right, part two of I should say the freezing cold. It's 18 degrees here, which is like 10 degrees better than it was. The freezing cold red Craftsman track snowblower with the Takumi engine on it. Now remember, part one, go back and check it out if you haven't already seen it, depending on which, whatever pops up on YouTube first, or we got a lot to do on part one. There's a lot to do on this whole thing. That's why these episodes are long. So they're not for everyone. You can just kind of scroll through them and find the thing that you're interested in. But really, I would watch both of them, because if you really want to learn how to completely go through a machine and hit everything, it's really the same thing for any of these machines, any of these sort of MTD or yard trash design. Craftsman doesn't make anything, so I know a lot of people think they do, but they do put their name on it. And back in the day when that name meant something, they added a little bit of flair to their designs. They made sure that the engineering was up to their I guess, description, their particulars, their design parameters, and they kept a lot of inventory back in the day. You could get anything you want. Now, the inventory for parts is still there. There's a lot of knockoff stuff. But yeah, part two, we're going to go through a few more things on this thing. We'll get that carburetor installed, and we still have to get the engine running. And towards the end, don't forget, we're gonna adjust this carburetor and get it running right. I'll explain, as Ricky Ricardo used to say, Ricky, explain out, kind of what those adjustments are and what those little dials are for. And if you don't know, or maybe you have some misconceptions, we'll get to all of that. Stay tuned. I'm going to be in your way. I can't help it. One of the things I did was I trimmed this end. There is enough on the other end. The hose is okay. If I have to add a little piece of hose to give me a little bit more slack, there's a turn down from the tank. I just checked it. We can add it there right before the fuel shut off. So I put a little bit of, I made sure these were tight. All right, that's your valve cover. And I put a little no-seize on the bolts. Before the fuel line is the rod, right, the control rod. Okay, and then we'll see if we can just kind of sneak this fuel line on, and we have to push it back. Yeah, she goes right on. That's good. It's hard to show a lot of this because we're so close here. Now we can push that line back because it'll go. We're still holding this out of the way. So that's our control mechanism here. That's going to be mounted to the cover. We're going to go over the ignition next. I'll have to set the camera back up. So these have lock washers on them. So I would recommend that don't use any on the threads. Don't use any blue lock or anything. And start them by hand. Get them tight by hand. You can put a little chain wax too on that gasket because it came off nice. You can also, I already put some of my tranny fluid mix on last night. So it's soaked in pretty good. And then we're just going to give it a bang with the tool. Done. So we're good there. Vent tube is over here, out of the way. The throttle's okay. We're all set. We didn't disrupt anything there. And now let's move the camera. I'm going to go, plug is out. Plug's a little dirty. You want to see it? It just needs to be clean. It's in good shape. Somebody put a new plug on. And the motor's turnover good. So I'm going to move the camera. We're going to go over and we're going to mess around with cleaning the coil up, the coil mount, and we're going to clean the magnet and we're going to recap it, make sure everything's good there. And also I see the connector looks a little shoddy, so we want to inspect that. All right, we just have a couple of things to do. Yeah, everything's in the way here. Yeah, that terminal is corroded. That's your shut-off terminal. Yeah, let's pull that off. Yeah, it's corroded. This isn't, but the terminal, that's not too bad, but the terminal on the coil is definitely corroded. That's common. We got to check the plug itself, the wire. Oh yeah, that's on there good. Not gonna fit. No, we're gonna have to go with something different there. Let's see if I have something more slender, like a deep socket. It's just really close to this coil pack. Yeah, everything's in my way, but we're not gonna be here long. I just want to clean it up now, and I'll go grab some lunch. Come back, and I want to take a peek inside here in the plug boot. Yeah, it's pretty nasty. See how that is? I'm going to aim you down a little bit more. And let's look in the boot. Boot's okay. Let me aim you down. And then same thing here. See what I mean? That's good enough. I'm just going to give it a quick rinse and solve it. And we'll reinstall it in a minute. And the last thing is...
An hour later.
All right, so we want to position the magnet out of our way. And let's just get, I don't know what I do. I can't get in here because I'll hit my head. So let's make sure we're going to go the right direction. It's all nice and clean. Before I left for food, I sprayed everything with chain wax and let it dry because it takes a while to set up. And I also, on the gear as well, and I also hit the gear with some white lube, right? And earlier, it was like the other day, yesterday, whatever it was, got in with some oil and some chain lube. You don't want anything thick in the starter motor Bendix because it'll get stuck when it gets cold out. So oil, a thick oil will be fine, or chain lube, not wax, not grease. So let's just lift this up and drive it in. Just snug it. So I want to go with 14. I've been going bigger. 14 is the biggest I want. They usually set around 12. I like them around 14. It winds up at about 12 because of the way these magnets straddle. Kind of line it up and straddle both of these, the armature ears, so to speak. And because they don't have, like, these things will rust and that will screw things up. I've even seen it to where in here it will lock up from rust and it'll make everybody think that the motor is seized up when it's not. It's just all the junk in here. Plus you can get nesting in here, and people where they leave them for a long time. Just kind of snug it up, and then I'm going to come back and tighten it, and so it'll rust seize. And like on a lawnmower, you have a wiper, you have like a brake. It's the flywheel brake, the engine brake, and it keeps this clean, so you can go tighter. I'm using a stubby 1/4-inch drive, and there is a little chain wax on the threads as well. And we just want to make sure it's tightened up because these are wafers, right? They're little segments of, laminates on top of one another. And when they're old like this, though, they don't tend to need to compress much. But I just want to make sure. All right, let's get that back. Now we can put on the cover. Come here, you. There we go. And we'll test the spark in a minute. I think we should spin it over. Is this out of the way? Yeah, that'll stay out of the way. And check for spark. And also, we'll just check the compression a little bit too. So before we do that, because she's been sitting, I'm going to put a little bit of my tranny sauce up into that hole. And let it just kind of spin a little bit. And not keep anything, any damage or seizing or anything like that. So temporarily the gas tank is just sort of pinned up on there. Let's let it down a little bit. Maybe I can get to it from here without moving it. It's very hard to move. I gotta let this thing down all the way in order to move it. Yeah, let's set up for a quick compression test and a spark test. I'm just going to turn it over real quick and let's see if we can see a spark. Oh yeah, I'm seeing it. That's and it's turning over nice too. All right, let's turn the lights back on. Let me set up for a compression test. All right, now you might say there's a little oil in the cylinder, and so it'll be a little bit higher, but it's a very lightweight oil with gas, and we already turned it over, so that's worked its way in, and some of it might have blown out. Well, let me try to hold it with one hand, and I'm going to hit the button. You ready? Oh, it's a little low. It might have an issue with a valve. Let's put some oil in it. 40 psi for a small motor. That's kind of low. So this is just a little bit of heavyweight oil. That's all, like a good squirt. And it'll float around in there, and if it starts to come up, then it's a ring issue. But it could still be valves, you know, because it's been sitting. And I don't see any real signs of like a head gasket, and this thing hasn't been used that much. So what can happen is why I put the sauce in, the tranny sauce, because if it's rings, it could just be that same kind of shellacking varnish kind of gets on the rings as well. So we might want to put a little more tranny sauce in after this. Let's see what it is. Yeah, it's about the same. So that means it could be the valves aren't sealing right. Just from rust or whatever, I'm going to put a little more tranny sauce in and like throw it around a little with that oil. And while we're putting the rest of the motor together, I think that'll help it. It'll wake up. Now, on the older ones, I don't think the older Takumis had an ACR. A lot of the older Briggses didn't on the snowblowers. They were a bitch to start. That's why I want to use a Takumi electric start on my big 826 that has a big old Briggs on it. But it's so hard. These things sit around. They're so hard to start. Especially when you get older and you have a bad back. You're going to want electric start. Hold on. Yeah, it's coming up. Yeah, and it's starting to spark too. So we don't want to keep doing that. And that will definitely loosen up the rings. And it can help with the valves if we can get it started. It'll start. Like I said, this probably has an ACR. That carburetor is different. It's not like the older engines. We got to find a date on it. And this was set up different. This is made in Canada, so there might be some differences there. So it may have an ACR on it, and that ACR is probably what we're seeing. We won't know until we're almost done. So let me keep going. Let me see if I can find a date on this guy. All right, so let's get to this. Now, I put some chain lube in there and some chain wax. You can also use oil, but the oil will drain out. I just want to wipe that out a little bit. It'll dry. The chain lube will gel, so it'll stay longer. And you hold on to it and pull it through, right? They put grease in these things, but you're not going to re-grease that. You want something similar. So like a chain lube and chain wax together will help. And also don't forget, by the way, to get it into the spring pocket down here and let it roll into where the spring is. So don't just do the poles, get it into the spring. Remember, it's wet operation. Check this, press it, and make sure, if that's white, it's no good. Okay, if it's discolored in any way, press it and see that you're getting pressure here and suction. And date of manufacture, its date of birth, well, in April it'll be 20 years old. So we can kind of see it here. We'll look at it actually has a DOM, a date of manufacturer. So 04 would be April, probably the second day of April. Meets or exceeds California 2006. So in order for it to have that, it would have to be newer than 2006. The body is a reference to 1995 safety standards, because it's a body that's been around forever, that design. See, this is January, almost the end of January. So another couple of months, you'll be like, 20 years old. All right, I got the picks. So one last thing, you want to put the cover on, right? Well, turn the magnet at least to here, right? Because if you have it near the ends, it'll grab the tin, and you'll be fighting to get the thing on. Of course, you could screw it up. That's just a tip. All right, plug's nice and clean.
28 to 30. Some of the bigger motors, you can do like 30. This is a fairly large motor. It's like 9 horsepower. That's what they're calling it. But that's in good shape. Somebody replaced that not that long ago. So just a good look. Right? Everything is nice and clean. And again, we can spray a little, before we put the cover on, I'll put a little bit more chain wax on that. Can you see? I also put some in the plug hole. And you can put a little bit of, maybe we'll do that. See how clean that is now? It's much nicer. So we're getting a proper gap. And like I said, I lubed that. All right, we got these screws here which hold down the switch for the electric start. And of course I noticed when I went to take one out, see if I can get you in here, it was just basically falling out, which is very common. Usually I put a little red or blue Loctite in. It's this one here, if you can see it. I'm just going to take an awl, like a punch, and just punch around it a little bit, just to tighten those threads up, and then I'm going to use a little blue Loctite. It just would have came off. And then I can affix the gas tank and do a few other little things. I'm also going to come around, so this rod is on. I think it's certainly a good preliminary adjustment. All right, that's your speed lever. And then what engages it is this guy. And we can see here that she's way too loose. Look at that. So I'm just going to take some of that slack out. And this is for the auger. And you could see, yeah, she's good, right? That's about right until we test it, physically test it. But that one's no good, this one here. Let me do those few things. I've got this lubricated here. And I like to take a little bit, let me turn on, yeah, the light is on. I like to take a little bit of sandpaper. And right here, right, this gets rusty and nasty, and a little sandpaper on the side and on the bottom. That's your kill. And if you're having a problem shutting it off, that's your issue. So I just did that, and I threw a little chain wax on everything. That'll keep it nice for a little while. So I adjusted this one up a little bit more. You know, no one ever adjusted. Those nuts were all the way threaded up. Same thing with this one. So, of course, it went out of adjustment. And I left a little bit more slack on here. But light issue. Light punishment. I may need to go a little tighter. But it is spring actuated. So, that's really what you're pulling on, a spring. But you want to make sure, like, this disengages and that the auger disengages. So we'll check on all of that. I did tighten up the nuts. This is all lubricated for the most part. I think we're good to go. I put some lube there as well. I think we'll throw a little lube on this. It was fine, but we'll put a little chain wax on that. And we'll just make sure we got chain wax in all of these. I think we're just about done. This is on. I peened over that, plus a little red Loctite. This one was the one that was really bad. It was just a hole. So we're good here. I'm trying to think of anything else I can do, before we let it down, because I have to keep raising and lowering the lift. So I think we're ready to put fuel in it at least. We can put a little lube and the mechanisms up there just to kind of get started. Maybe run it for a little while. It's still kind of early. It's not terribly cold out. Yeah, that's a nail is in that. Okay. That's a nail, so that's not right. So maybe we can fix that. That's a nail. Yeah, we'll let it down in a bit. I'm going to put some lube in here too. We're going to pick this up and put some heavy, like a heavy 2040, 2050 weight oil just to kind of get that grease going in there. So I want to do a few things like that, and I'll let you know what else I did. All right, like I said, it's gapped and clean. I put a little no-sees on it. We're going to take this Q-tip, run some Dow Corning electrical compound in there. It's a silicone, and we'll run it into the boot. Get it all in the boot and everything. It'll stop it from rotting. It'll make it easy to get on and off. It'll keep the water out and the rust and the garbage. Let me get that done, and I think we're ready to put some fuel in it. That is black, nasty oil. It's full, but it's nasty. All right, let's run it with that oil, get it warm, and get it out. Everything is connected. I put a little bit more lube in here, in the mechanisms in there. I did get a little bit on the belts. That'll burn off. I think we'll hit them with a belt treatment. Some belt dressing on it. Let's tickle it. you got to put a decent amount of fuel in. So there's some fresh fuel mixed half with his old fuel, which is not that old. He actually just put it in, tried to use it. Doesn't take long for fuel to go bad. I think we're good. Everything else is lubricated. I lubricated the front gears. We'll talk about that later. We can't really go back and forward, and I'm not really going to tune it in here. We just want to get this warmed up enough to dump that oil, because I want to be revving it up and trying to tune it, letting it get hot with that garbage oil in it. All right, let's just tickle it, and let's just see if anything comes out. Yep. So we got fuel in it. Let's put choke on midway, about mid-throttle. Some primes, it's peeing out. That's good. That's good to see, because when you prime it, you're overfilling the bowl, overpressuring it. Just gotta get ready to kill it. Let's just see what happens. Let's see if she should start on her own. Choke's off already. Choke is already off. All right, not bad for a first run. All right, did a little bit of adjustment. Nothing too much. Let's let it air out. I'm going to get out of here for a few minutes. Go make some coffee or whatever. It's too stinky in here. But it's getting there. It's running good. So I got to adjust the transport. I have the same problem with my machine. You go into first, it still wants to go backwards. Okay, so we can adjust that out when we bring it outside, or I'll do a little bit in here. But we're done for now. Let me get out of here.
20 minutes later.
All right, let's see what black goo we got in here. I don't need this anymore. I just needed it to make sure that the tube doesn't come out, but it was okay. I got it tilted up a little bit in the front. Oh yeah, that's black. That is nasty. Let's pop the hood on the drain on the filler plug. And all right, I'm gonna go grab some food. Yeah, it's beat. It's a little warm. Like I didn't run it too long. It's full of carb, and that means fuel was getting passed. It was running too rich, and we could talk about that later. But that's not good. That could damage the cylinder walls. Certainly, gas washing the cylinder can essentially wipe out the crosshatch. But we'll put a little thicker oil, just a 1030 in here, and we'll get it fresh. We'll let it drain out. You know, we put that other stuff in there that'll help loosen up everything. It seemed like it was starting to get stronger. I did a little bit of an adjustment already. I think it's getting there. I think she's okay. All right, she needs to run. We'll do that tomorrow. I'll get some fresh oil in later. I'll see you guys in a bit. Yeah, you can always tell. You get to the bottom, and it's coated like that. And it's coating the bottom, and it's kind of thick. It's been inside. I'm just outside now, but it's just starting to turn to sludge. All right, see, as I'm cleaning it up, but look at this paper towel, and it's just black. All right, that's carbon. That means gas was getting in, and it was run too long with the same oil, and that would account for the slightly lower compression ratio that we're seeing. Can you guys see what I see? So that's bent in. This is bowed up. You see, I got the paint sticks. This has now had to bend out. So I'm not seeing that that's a good thing, that anything there is good. Let's take that out. Let's bend the case, because I think the case is being bent in. I get the suspicion that this is supposed to be on the inside. And for whatever reason, I don't even know why you would need that. I mean, yes, you do get bowing, but I'm not sure why you would even need that. That's just not right. And it makes it really hard to adjust this. Let me noodle around with that a little bit. You see here, right, it tightened up so much it embedded the washer in. So now there's no way to really adjust it because they've damaged this plastic shoe. This is not right. Like, this system, whatever this is just not right. That's not right. Let me fool around with it. Turn this little light on. You see how beat up it is? It's just beat to shit. And over here on this side, they like pounded it. Oh my God. All right, let me get out a dolly and a few other things, and I'm going to clean this up. That's my first tool. Well, let's try a dolly. Here's a cool tool. All right, that's for iron working, but black iron. Can we peel this out a little bit? Let's get that out of the way. Black iron, pig iron. I'm gonna get my air hammer and knock that in because it's in this way, right in the corner there. It's in like that. I got a bunch of things. I just need to grab this edge and put a little more edge to it. Yeah, that's a little bit better. I just need to start it. Yeah, somebody butchered the hell out of this. He probably bought it like that. You know, when people don't really know what they're doing. There's a difference between people that are handy and people that are mechanically inclined. And then with the mechanically inclined, you need to get to the next level. What is this even doing here? Oh yeah. See, that's how it should have went. So why they had to try to jam it on the outside, I don't know.
And this, I mean, because you're not going to get the locking, it has holes in it, not squares. So you don't need this thing, but yeah, that's about where it wants to go, right about there. And yeah, I mean, you'll get some issues with scooping up snow, but I don't think it'll be that bad. All right, let me keep working on it, but you see what I'm talking about, right? We'll get a closer look in a bit. But even just with a little bit of bending, like on the edges here, we can either use this, a vice grip, which I have out, but I like this guy. It's got a lot of, you can put a lot of muscle into it, and have it be magnified, so that doesn't bow out, peel back. There's an adapter that you can put on it. Put it on. It's an edge protector, like an edge guide. It's on my big green one that's on my channel, the big green Craftsman. That's better. And I just want to get this chick out there in the back, and it keeps the mouth open and in alignment, because these are always so thin that they do get turned in and beat up, for sure. All right, a little bit more work. It didn't take much to do it right, and then the right bolts. Okay, I'll show you what I mean in a minute. I need to order another kit of chisels and irons for my air hammer. This is an old one. Oh my God. CP, Chicago Pneumatic Zip Gun. Made in USA. Yeah, imagine that. So I need something like that, but longer. This one got sharpened. It was a cutter. Now it's a chisel. I need something long with a flat end, and maybe something I can even put different tips on. But I mean, I can make all kinds of shit, but I can't make this yet until I get the lathe going. It's frustrating. I'll get there. Let's see, can I get this tool in? There's no other way to knock it. I could, yeah. I don't think we're gonna get it, fellas. The tool is in the way. Oh, wait. No. All right. Yeah, and then this one will wind up cutting it. I mean, it may not. Let's see. But I'm not done yet. This spring's getting a little beat up. There's my future son-in-law, who doesn't understand. You can't just let it beat its way into things. Yeah, I can't get this off now. Uh-oh. Well, he's new. He doesn't know. I'll learn his ass. Yeah, that's it. That's kind of what I'm looking for. Except it's cutting it too much. Like, I don't want to cut it. And the other way is, hold on. Yeah, see, I don't want to cut it. I want something blunt. But this might knock it. I don't need to go that far. Brass rod. That might work. If I can get it in there. Or it might just have to stay like that, because I can't do everything. Somebody screwed it up. Yeah, it's a little bit better, but that's not really what I want. Now, if I put it on its butt, I might be able to work it. I don't know if you can do that with this. I gotta get something underneath it. It's leaking gas big time. So that's a problem. I think it'll be okay. If I could just knock it a little bit more, and some of it'll pull in. Let me fool around. Now the air compressor's on, but I'm just gonna run over to the belt sander. Somebody cut these, and I guess they made them. Probably because whatever was on. I don't know. Just gonna clean them up a little bit. I'm probably only gonna need 2, and the one that goes here is gonna have to be probably a different bolt altogether, because you're not gonna be able to tighten it. There's no square or flat. I don't really want the nuts on this side, but we'll see. Let me see what I can do with these. Clean them up. Nice and clean. I don't know. Like I said, some people they're not mechanically inclined. They're handy. which means they can take stuff apart and maybe put it together again. Mechanically inclined is more like, it's more like the kind of thing where if you can see that this needs to be adjusted, that you don't want to just lay on the scraper, that's what these are for. If you were just laying on the scraper, what would these shoes be for? That's mechanically inclined. And if the shoes aren't adjusted right, and you don't know how to adjust it right, then you're handy, but you don't understand mechanical, you don't have an inclination for the understanding. And same thing with this. If this fits in the middle, why would you put it on the outside? Well, if you said that maybe because if it goes on the inside, and it might get in the way of the snow coming in nice and smooth or some imaginary thing, you still would be handy, but you wouldn't be mechanically inclined, because the purpose of this is to support the bucket, right? This housing, because it's so thin. It's very thin. It's not like my Toro 826. It's very thin, and they tend to bend this way and bend in, and so this is a way of sort of supporting it back and forth, and it fits on the inside. If you put it on the outside, you're having to bend in these ears, and they had to go in a lot. Like, this is still a little off. I could slam that with the hammer, but you're having to bend the hell out of it to get it to fit. Well, then you're not mechanically inclined, because why would you have to bend the hell out of it to get it to fit? And it's in the way of the shoes, so you don't understand the shoes because you're handy, but you're not mechanically inclined. So without the mechanically inclined concepts behind, you'll go screw up the whole way through, and you'll produce what was there. And sometimes you can take somebody that's handy and you can unleash the inclination to be more mechanically inclined, but let me get you in tight.
Put a little bit bigger washers on it. All right, we're just up a paint stick high. I'm just doing a last look in here. Now this guy moves back and forth, and you can see here, see the difference in the way the belt is leaving deposits on this pulley, which is in really beautiful shape. You can see they're not under the same tension. And that belt guide is what's doing most of everything. So this kind of slides here. And there is a bearing, but it slides on steel. And that's all. If you get a little bit on the belts, we'll bring it outside, we'll run it up, I'll put a little belt dressing on it, and we're also going to go and adjust the carburetor a little bit. And then we can close it up. Let's tune it. Let's check idle. 2280. I like that. That's its idle. Let's go into the idle adjustment needle. by ear. All right, we're done there. Let's get a little bit of belt dressing on. That's good. Look at that thing rattling away. Oh yeah, she's gonna come off. Look at that crap. Look at that. You know what I mean? All right, let's bring it in.
All right, it's that time again. It's that time of the video where we say goodbye. And lots of people do that, and it's our time now to part. It's done. I've gone through everything. So we saw that, I'm trying to yell at the camera, we saw that I've got it tuned. I pretty much nailed it, almost, by ear. But one of the nice things about having these adjustments on the carburetor, and it's just so adjustable, because the barometric pressure changes so much here. So if it starts to run a little crappy, you don't have to touch the dial. You just reach underneath, on a higher, mid to higher RPM, and you give it a tweak one way or the other, and you tune by ear. That makes a big difference. I got to get it out of here. We did everything. I also got a cotter pin over here. There was a nail shoved in, and it was about ready to snap. Yeah, then you would have lost the washer and everything. Everything is lubed. Everything is greased and oiled and whatever. I like to finish up with drier lubes, which is, I usually start off with like some type of penetrant or oil to get things moving, but then I start shifting to gels and waxes, like this sort of spray wax, chain wax, and then in a lot of areas I like to just go back over with spray lithium. It's generally recommended by most manufacturers, whether you use it in a brush or more of a paste, but the spray is nice because it kind of goes in like a penetrant anyway, and then you just wipe off the excess. So we've got everything lubed, we've got the wiring done, we've got the carburetor done, we got the carb cleaned, we've serviced and lubricated the starter motor. I've made sure that this electrical switch is bonded down right. I did mention that the screws that hold on the air box, okay, to the carburetor and to the frame, except for this one, to the, I guess this would be the air cover or the blower cover, except for this one that's over here that goes into the motor. They get a bit of Loctite, they can rattle out. I disconnected the switch with the stupid key that's over here. I don't know why the light doesn't work, I don't care. We've got that front end serviced nice. Everything seems to be moving well. I'm gonna get it out of here and I'm gonna cover it because we're gonna have some rain. He's not gonna be here till next week. He's a neighbor of mine. One block over, so he's going to be very happy. This machine is nice for a 20-year-old machine. There are some things that will go wrong with it in the future. Belts, his belts are okay. I checked them over. They're okay, but we got some belt dressing on it. However, if one goes, then you got to replace them all because you have to split the machine. All right, you got to split it and get in there and do your thing. So if you're going to go through all of that, there's a lot of work to do, and if it needs any of the maintenance, you want to do that at that time as well. So you want to check the bearing in the front over here. That's another story. This could go another 20 years. I don't see why not. Even with this bearing issue in the housing, that can be repaired. It's steel. We can weld it. We can do stuff with it. All right. Really great machine. 9 horsepower, 28 inch. This was a long look in service at bringing one of these things sort of back into service and back to life again, and made in America, most of it, and the rest of it made in Canada. You can't beat that. See you on the next one.